you the path forward. What do you think about OData Neo so far? Do you like the proposal? Do you like the
So I've seen bits and pieces of the proposal. I want to say I asked a question in one of the discussions, and it's one actually no, I tweeted it at you. I
uh-huh,
don't. It's fine that you didn't answer. But the it. I think that one of the things that I'm not seeing the narrative around, but I can kind of piece it together, is where does OData Next fit in a world of GraphQL, right?
uh-huh,
And
uh-huh,
it's kind of like and I do think that OData prior to GraphQL,
uh-huh,
had a great story around a lot of the things that GraphQL didn't have. So you had projections, you had filtering, ordering, grouping, you had this ability for other computations. And that's all. I loved all of that. One of the problems was adaptability and whatnot. And then GraphQL comes out and kind of knocks it out of the park and says, you know what, like for the 90 something percent cases, here we go. You only need to pick a few fields and have a kind of loose hierarchy around, or rather a loose structure around how to get to those things.
mhm,
And we make it easy to plug in, especially with data collectors and whatnot, like on the implementation side.
uh-huh,
I'm excited to see OData come into that and kind of say, okay, we see where the space is now. How do we how do we bring OData into that? What I am holding my breath for is the
uh-huh.
implementation. So I've
Yeah.
tried to do OData implementations in like old OData in
Mhm.
ASP.NET Core. And like if I was doing it was hard, right?
Yeah.
Because I wasn't doing a direct iQuery backed with entity framework, right? It
Uh-huh.
was like I used RavenDB to kind
Uh-huh.
of project where pre-computed values
Uh-huh.
out through OData. um, it was really rough, right? Especially that translation between, okay, here we have the query, or rather the abstract query in whatever form, whether it's a string or whatever from the client. How do I
Mhm.
apply that into a code expression that I can then leverage, or some sort of AST that can then be leveraged elsewhere? And then when I
Mhm.
got into the media type conversions on top of OData, I was just like, all right, like
That's
I'm
it.
sorry, I bailed
That's it.
today.
I'm calling it.
Like I gotta go. Like, I need something to work. And that's where GraphQL.net came in, right?
Mhm.
GraphQL.net really, it's not perfect, but it had that abstraction. So when I
Mhm.
saw the proposal, or the elements of the proposal, to see, okay, one, we're abstracting protocol, network
Yep.
protocol, we're
Yep.
abstracting away the AST, right?
Yep.
We're
Yep.
abstracting like what I am seeing is a lot of what I'm seeing when ASP.NET Core was developed on top of as a successor to ASP.NET. And so it's like, okay, we need modularity and ability to plug in every single layer. We need the ability to project across multiple transmission protocols.
Mhm.
And I was like, okay, this is exciting. So I mean, that's why I'm here, right? Because
Yep.
it's
Yep.
rekindled that kind of
Yep.
interest.
Mhm.
I'm not saying I'm going to like leverage, move my whole thing, but I'm excited to see how it comes out, because I say, oh, hey, like if I can plug in stuff really easily, and especially if the composability across multiple sources, from an implementation standpoint, like
Mhm.
because you're really kind of tasked with two things, right? You're tasked with spec,
Uh-huh.
right, which is like
Uh-huh.
kind of make this, not because OData doesn't have to be powered by .NET Core, right, on the back end. It can be powered by anything, right?
I
It's
want to
just
make
spec.
it like literally like here's the thing, the core middle core component of OData, so how I'm breaking this, there's this thing that I call the engineering standard, right?
Mhm.
And it breaks things into disposable components. These are integration components and exposure components. That's the protocols that you were just talking about. And then there's this core business logic component. And this
Mhm.
component, I want people to look at the code and be
Mhm.
able to literally translate it from C sharp to Java to Python to whatever they want, right?
Yeah.
So in order for that to happen, it needs to rely only on localized models. And that's
Right.
the one of the things that we're going to talk about today. Like OData today, the current implementation, as powerful as it is, it relies a lot on things that comes out of the box from the .NET library,
Mhm.
right? I'm detaching that.
Yeah.
I'm going and saying, listen, man, I'm gonna show my true color here. I'm actually a Scala guy.
Mhm.
And I'm gonna go and say, okay, we need to actually completely localize all the models and the functionality that is governing the core business logic. But also there's this new concept that I'm trying with. I know that some people like on the Dev blog, on Microsoft Dev blog, someone said to me, "Why are we trying new patterns and whatnot?" And I think they're coming from a very good place. They're basically saying, there's existing projects, and but we also why don't we work with what we're familiar with?
Right.
But that's just boring, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
Like if I'm working with what I already know, I'm not gonna learn anything out of it. We're moving modules around, which brings us to this topic. For I'm recording this session, of course, for YouTube and all that. So
Yeah.
so Nick, you're now. I hope that you're okay. You're
That's
gonna
fine.
be
You
you're
have
gonna be out,
consent. That's fine.
and we are joined by this amazing good friend of mine, Mr. Sam. Shoot, hi Sam, how are you doing? I'll get you to set up the headset and the camera. I know you're just sitting it on the side, but we'll figure it out. You're fine. You're looking fine. You're perfect, man. Anyway, so a couple of things for the OData Neo community. Oh, you already set the camera up. Okay, perfect. I love it. Okay, so the two things for the OData Neo community. Number one, we have a Discord channel, which is pretty cool. I love Discord. I used Discord a long time ago. Even Sam said I heard of Discord, I know of Discord, but I never had a reason to use it, right? So now we have a reason to use it, right? I remember back in the day where Discord, like, the channels were open, anybody could join in, anybody could actually it was like Skype podcasts. And I'm showing my age here, really really old school kind of stuff that we used to have. But for the people that are watching us and haven't seen my LinkedIn post or Twitter post or Facebook post, we have a Discord channel, and it's a pretty cool channel because it has all the, people are going to come in, and someone just asked me the question. I think it was you, Nick. You said, where do we put in where do we put in the discussions, the long format, the proposals, versus putting, something like the chats. I want to give people multiple options to communicate with us. If you want to talk about it in the GitHub and you like GitHub, fine. If you want to talk about it through Discord, that's fine. I believe in diversification of, data transaction, literally what OData Neo is. That's exactly how my brain works. I'd be like, it doesn't have to be one way or the highway. I want it to be multiple ways, and we're still achieving the same goal through a particular common purpose, right? So we have this Discord channel. You will also find, because I still see a lot of people still following the old issue, so I have to talk about this. Let me share this one real quick. So there was an issue that I opened. I'm gonna close that issue so people just stop following it because I don't want people to go there. There is this issue that I opened a while back. This issue right here. Wow. Okay, this is a lot. Hold on. So, all right. Let's see. Let me see if I can go back. There it is. So there's this issue here. This is the original issue that I proposed back in June 2021, right? And I'm very sorry for the community about this. Just so many things happening at the same time, and I needed to kind of, get a little bit of time with Sam. I know his schedule is busy as it is. He just released this compute and search back capabilities, which I really highly recommend people go see it. It's amazing. It's Sam, was this compute and search influenced by the modularization discussions we were having in OData Neo, or no? Or did it just pop and you were like, yeah, I'm gonna do it? Oh, you're on mute, brother. You're on mute. You're on mute. Sam, you're on mute. Did I mute Sam? Is that what I did? Hold on. Here. I'm gonna unmute. You can't unmute your guests because they choose to mute themselves. Nice. Nice.
Yeah,
Nice.
sorry, mute. And
Sam,
yes,
yeah.
yes, it
See that
depends
see
on the
see this
computer
makes my
search
heart happy.
capability is from after the new.
I love that. So Sam and I were talking about modularization. I was like, okay, this Odin and Neo project is gonna take a little bit of thinking. I'm gonna go ahead real quick and do the compute and search, and people loves it, Sam. People love the capability. By the way, just so you guys understand, so okay, so let me just go back here. This issue here, I'm gonna close this issue, and then I'm gonna go say closing this issue in favor of moving the discussions into the new repo or
May-
Discord
may-
channel.
Maybe
Go ahead, Sam.
hold on.
Go
So
ahead.
can we transform the issue to the order the new repo?
I never done it before. Nick, do you know how to
I
do
mean,
that
I
I
stuff?
mean,
think you're
do you
able
want
to
to
transfer issues.
keep
Hold
the
on.
discussion? Do
Uh-huh.
you want to keep the here's a
Yes.
button is a transform left
Transform.
right below below below. You don't have
Dude,
you
where?
don't have the right.
I don't have the right.
You don't have
I'm
the
not
permission. I can
I'm
transform.
not as powerful as Sam Shu. Sam is the only person that can do something like that. Go ahead, Sam. You do you.
Let
You do
me
you, boo.
transform the issue to. You don't have, or maybe you don't have the permission.
I don't, but do you?
Let me transform the issue to order new. Yeah, did done
You already did?
done.
Are you serious, bro? Just
Yes,
like that? Okay, that's a flex. Okay, I like it. Okay, so
the
here's the
number
outdated.
four.
Ooh, okay, there it is.
Mm.
Okay, now can you transfer the issue into a discussion? Let's throw something at him. Let's break him. Let's have him throw a
Yeah, I
500
just
exception.
16 seconds ago.
Yeah,
So
but now
now
it
we can keep the history.
yeah, but now it's an issue. It's not a discussion. Can you make it a discussion, Sam?
Um,
Don't worry
I
about it.
haven't tried the
I'm
discussion.
just messing with you, brother. Just anyway, I'm so glad we moved it in here. This is amazing. I didn't know you could even do that. This is crazy. This is what I love about open source community is that you could, there is always someone out there that knows something you have no idea it even existed. Like you don't even know what you're looking for, right? And then Nick comes in and Sam comes in and they just say, hey, let's talk about this. Let's
Yeah, I haven't to say hi to Nicholas. Hi, Nico.
Hey Sam, how you doing?
So
Good.
this is here's all I know about Nick, and he's gonna tell us a little bit about himself. He
Yeah,
is
it's my first time to see Nick.
and this is the first time I see him too. I promise you, he's
Oh,
not like
really?
my friend from high school or anything.
I'm just some dude who likes OData, and wants to see it thrive in a GraphQL world. That's it.
he's gonna turn out be a partner level engineer somewhere, and he's just kind of masquerade. They do that to us all the time. They kind of know what to tell you. But but anyway, Nick, we're very happy to have you. We really appreciate you coming in. Like I said, think about this as the reason why I put the link in there is that I want this to be truly a community engagement. Whoever you are, whatever you do, join in and give us your opinion and hopefully we'll be able to kind of build something together. By the way, just for the people watching us, just so people understand, this is not and at the risk of freaking some people out, this is not about the software. This is
Mhm,
about building good relationships with the community, and as a side effect we're going to be building great software out of it
mhm.
as a side effect. Okay, a lot of people say the product, and then screw the people, right? We don't care, right? No, I'm saying people, and oh, look, there's great product. I don't care if I'm making software with Sam or making cookies. He's still my friend, and we're still doing great things together. And
Are you
and
sure
and I'm
it's people say people?
people,
Most of the time
people,
say money.
money.
I'm not going to guess at either of your ages, but I'm going to assume that you're old enough to remember the Balmer presentation. Developers, and like Hassan when
developers,
he's going
developers.
people,
Yep.
people, people. You were invoking Balmer very well. That's all I'm saying.
Right. I'm pulling the Balmer. I'm 36 years old. I've been doing this since I was 16, 1997, something like that. And I just love the opportunity to be able to engage with people like that. Man, you do remember this. We used to need to choke a cat to connect to the internet in the back. Do you remember the little noise that the cat that the internet would make to connect to the dial-up? You're choking a
Oh yeah.
cat and lighting fire, and summoning demons from the internet,
Without going into it too much, I have more years than you. like in
Okay.
double digits.
Okay.
So
Okay.
yeah, I remember the dial-up sound quite a bit. It was like, it was like it's like you're unleashing some banshee, and then when it finally ends, you're like, oh, I've gone through. So question, I have a question for you. Like, given that you talk about people and the relationships, and I absolutely agree with that. One of the things that kind of comes from that, though, um, the experience, right? The developer experience, the experience of working with the protocol and whatnot. How do you see, and if you can't answer this, that's fine, but how do you see OData Next or OData Neo? Is OData Neo the official name of the project
Yeah,
now?
that's the
Okay,
official
so
name.
I apologize.
By the way,
OData
we
Neo.
by the way, we're calling it OData Neo so people don't think that this is something that replaces the existing
Mhm.
OData 8.
Right.
This is like an R&D branch
Yeah.
because it's a protocol. We get to have 50 different implementations of OData.
Yep.
And anyway, I'm sorry I interrupted you. Go ahead.
No, no, not at all.
Go ahead. Go ahead.
How do you like? Where do you see its place in the world with GraphQL? And on top of that, like, so Facebook, right?
Uh,
I don't know if we can
uh,
say the names or whatnot, but
yeah.
like they were able to push GraphQL because of their tight interaction with React, right? Then they came out with, it wasn't Recoil, I forget what they built on top, which allowed
Mhm,
them to take multiple pieces, right, of
mhm.
queries on a page and then put that together to create one aggregated query, which could then be optimized, right? And then
Yep.
you can choose, what do I want? Like,
Yep.
how do you see, like, what do you like, how do you see, sorry, I apologize. It's one thing to be able to say, hey, we have a technically superior, what we feel is a technically superior offering in terms of a spec and a reference implementation or a standard implementation in the .NET
Mhm,
world. But what
mhm.
do you see as like kind of like the application or the outreach, the evangelism that will help OData, like the people parts of it, right?
Yeah.
What's the plan there?
So there's a couple of things. A lot of people, just to make these things clear, I look at OData and GraphQL as PlayStation and
Mhm.
Xbox, right?
Yep.
So I love Phil Spencer. I love his I really do. He has
Very
this
much
I
anti-console wars.
Yep, yep. He's
Mhm.
like, listen, man, I don't want to, even Daniel Roth, when I went to Daniel Roth, the guy who was driving the Blazor development in the .NET world,
Mhm.
I said to him, is Blazor better or JavaScript? And he said to me, I don't want to see that. I see
Yeah.
options, and these
Mhm.
options can interop. You know how sometimes some games offer you the capability of playing like a game from your Xbox or from your PlayStation or from Steam on your PC, and everybody's still playing together? That's
Mhm.
my hope. My hope is that if people are working with GraphQL, they will find something in OData. Because here's the thing, now OData is going and saying, I'm going to be modular and open for customization, right?
Mhm.
So anybody can implement a module that can do fuzzy search or a certain
Mhm.
capability that is not necessarily something that you're finding in GraphQL. Now here's what I want people to do, to go and say, oh, let me just add OData integration in GraphQL. So you're still making the GraphQL query, but you're
Okay.
executing OData underneath.
Oh. 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 So you see, wow, I never even thought of something like that. It's not just it's not like, oh, hey, we'll replace, it's like, oh, hey, maybe I have some OData
Yep,
server over here.
yep,
Here's how I'll link all the two, and then
yep,
kind of like,
yep,
almost
yep,
like tunneling in a
yep,
sense, like some transformation, then tunneling on the way
yep.
through. Wow. I
I
never even
want
thought of
people.
something like that.
Yep, I want people to be able. Listen, I'm engaging kindness and love and prosperity into this, right? I want to be nice to my neighbor. I want to be nice
Mhm.
to the engineer. At the end of the day, the person who's using this technology is who? People I really truly respect and love, which represent 0.24% of the population of the planet. Who are
Mhm.
these? The engineers, you and me and Sam and all that. I don't want to be a blocker in your way just because I'm having a competition with someone else. We're
Yeah.
not, right? I'm going and saying, what is it that helps you get? Because here's the thing, you and I know this very well. Rob Sam knows this very, very well. There will always be the one delivery that you need to get by tomorrow morning,
Yeah.
and you are at the last piece of delivery, and you have this one impediment.
Mhm.
If the so-called competition is the stopper from allowing you to get that delivery done, then we all failed. We all failed the engineers. Does that make sense? So this
Yeah.
is really what I'm doing here. Ideally, If you break OData into smaller modules and detach it from the protocol, you'll even see this in the div blog article. I said you can have GraphQL, you could have SOAP, you can have REST, you can have whatever you want to have as a protocol.
Hmm.
Feel free to go through OData modules and leverage this capability for your querying. At the
Hmm.
end of the day, we're offering querying capability through protocols. What that protocol is, what these queries is, go ahead and implement whatever you want. It's
Hmm.
also a kind of insulting to go and say, I'm going to build one library that will fit everybody and I'm not going to allow anyone to change it. That's a little arrogant because
Yeah.
there are some really smart people out there. Like I just saw a guy yesterday that built the entirety of Windows 10 UI with all the
Hmm.
folders and files and programs running in the web. So
Yeah.
you don't install anything. I was like, this guy, if he puts his brain into some of the work that we do, they can do whatever they want. And then this is modern engineering and design anyway. Like if you don't build anything closed,
Hmm.
that people assume that it's cookie cutter, every business is going to be able to pick it up. Okay.
Yeah.
So okay, so we made a couple of announcements. Okay, we have the Discord, and Sam did his sorcery, and he moved his we moved the issue over to OData Neo. Now let's talk about the design. This is what Sam was waiting on. He said to me, "Okay, tell me what are you gonna do and how are we gonna implement this." So listen to me very well because this is how we're gonna write this code. Sam, number one, we have few rules. We're gonna have to enforce these rules, you and I, in this repository, and hopefully the OData community is gonna help us with it. We can't push. There's no pushing straight to master. Pull request and pair programming. What that be, if you can, what that basically means that we need to implement something called pure coding. And pure coding meaning that if you're writing a feature or implementing a feature, if you write a failing test, make a commit. If you make that test pass, make another commit, and so on and so forth. What does that look like in the real world, just to help people kind of see, what we're talking about? This is not a dream. This is actually how I run most of the teams I work with, and it actually becomes very fruitful and helpful. I'll just pick up any random project, just show you guys what that looks like. So here's a project in here, right? I'm gonna go here into a pull request, and I'll pick up a feature implementation. Let me go a little bit further. Let's see, course. This is one of the projects that I put out there that kind of help people see what it's like to follow the engineering standard and implement something that is useful for everybody. Maybe let's see here, my ID function commits. Look, so there is a failing test and then there's making it pass, and then there's a failing test and making it pass. I don't know how to make GitHub show me the rest of the commit, to be honest. Is it like this? Yeah, there you go. Can you tell I'm a boomer? I don't know how to do anything. That's literally, a corporatized person. So see, so the same test, fail, pass, fail, pass, fail, pass, fail, pass. So each one of those, this is called pure coding, like a purist approach to writing software. Why is that important? Because it helps you do two things. It helps you track the source code itself is for sure test driven because the commit history is telling you this is exactly what happened. Of course, someone really smart is going to pop and say, well, I can do cherry picking and I can select certain files and make it look like it's committed. This is why we add this other thing, which is pair programming, right? We're pairing together, we're setting, on the other side, I write a failing test commit and then send it over to Sam. Sam makes it pass and he writes a failing test and then commit, sends it back to me. This way, we call it ping pong in pair programming. It helps engineers stay engaged. I can't tell you how much. I know that not all engineers love pair programming, and I totally respect that. So just make sure that your commit history is pure. But if you love pair programming and mentorship and engagement, you'll be mentoring and being mentored as you are pairing, and also helps a lot with the whole pandemic lockdown. I can't go out there and see people anymore, so you get to kind of talk to people and see them, and and discuss software with them. So this is number one thing. Pure coding. We can't write features straight into master. It has to go through pull requests and someone has to approve it, but also it has to be pure, meaning like it has to have, certain, commit history that says, yeah, we wrote this failing test, we made it pass, and so on and so forth. It helps a lot with the history of that. So that's number one thing. And then the second thing, is that we need to talk a little bit about how we're gonna design this thing, right? And that's That's the question that Sam was talking about the other day. And I'll let me share my screen here and I'll tell you guys what we're gonna do. Tell me if you can share my screen. See my screen.
Yes.
Should be able to. Sorry, this is me explaining the James Webb Telescope to someone yesterday. He was telling me how he's a good guy. He said to me, how does it see back in time? I was like, okay, there it is, no problem there. Okay, so let's go into the design of this. So here's the thing, Sam. We need to create a bunch of services, and each one of these services will offer a capability, something very similar to what you have today, except that it's going to be super single responsibility and super focused on a particular thing. Let's see. So something here that this will be select service, and this will be filter service, and this will be a order service, and this will be, let's say, something like compute service. Okay, so each one of those services is what I call a foundation service layer, right? And these foundation services basically interact with the external or non-local modules or models or capabilities in your system. That means that these services will have behind them what I call brokers. And these brokers, my friend, is basically what we're gonna need to abstract away the out-of-the-box .NET expression and querying models. Okay, so you're using a lot of that out-of-the-box modules that turns it into an expression. We want to abstract that away and localize models specifically for this core business logic that we have. What that basically means is that our system, the library itself, will have these two realms. There's the core realm, and then there is the integration realm. And the integration realm will allow people from any technology and any background to go and say, oh, these guys are relying on the .NET implementation of expressions and queries. We're gonna use Java. We're gonna use the Java implementation, and we're gonna rewrite some of these models in Java so we can actually implement the same library in a different technology. Okay, Java has their own like lambdas and expressions. We beat them to that in C sharp, but they caught up to it eventually, right? I always tell people, I always joke about C sharp. Say, okay, C sharp is Java done right. That's pretty much all I can talk about. But okay, so let's just talk a little bit further into this. So what else is happening in here, Sam? At some point in time, I know that when you are doing this mapping between the external, these are external wrappers around your external libraries and your internal modules. Now we're going to run into this other scenario where there is additional higher order business logic needed, right? This higher order business logic needed will require what we have processing services. So these guys offer primitive operations, and then we're going to add on top of it higher order business logic. So let's say, for instance, that you have in here an aggregation service. Let's say this OData aggregation service. And this OData aggregation service will be able to go and say, okay, based on the request that's coming in, I'm going to route the request to the appropriate service that will handle that request. This is a preliminary implementation. I still didn't engage the lakehouse or the substrate pattern yet. I'm still just saying this is where I am. At this level here, of course, this will be a little bit more complex as we implement, but at this level here, this is your core logic. Now you can add the exposure logic, and this is where people can come in and add whatever protocols they want, right? You can literally go here and say, I want to add the ASP.NET, protocol. I want to add the GraphQL protocol. I want to add SOAP, WCF, whatever protocol you have, you're going to wire it with this core business logic internally. And this way, we have three different modules. Of course, the one that you and I are going to build outside of the box is something that works with ASP.NET, but we also want people to be able to go and implement it with gRPC, WCF, whatever they want to implement it with. So this way, we're completely, truly agnostic, because this core component that's in the middle here has absolutely nothing to do with what external native this is core business logic. It has nothing to do with the dependencies that you're relying on in terms of native .NET libraries, but it also doesn't know who's calling it. It knows that it has a contract, and that contract needs to be fulfilled in order for it to process queries, right? So I can go here and say this is the ASP.NET exposer or client. I can go here and say this is gRPC client or implementation. You can have WCF. You can have whatever else is out there that people want to have. What do you think about that?
Yeah, it looks great. It seems audit aggregation service like audit collaboration pipeline also mentioned in the previous
Yes.
video.
Yeah.
So the select field ordered by computer, it sounds like service in depend inject to the aggregation service pipeline.
Right.
The append is based on the rules. For
Right.
example, we should append the filter um, be after the order by,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
or we can apply the order by filter before the order by.
That's right. That's right.
It's a different result.
Yeah,
You know,
that's the orchestration part of it. I know what you're talking about. This
yeah.
is just
So
go ahead, go ahead, go ahead, go ahead.
yeah, another example is for the dollar top, dollar skip.
Mm-hmm.
So where to apply the dollar top, dollar skip, in fact, the date returned.
Mm-hmm.
So
Mm-hmm.
it's a pipeline. We should define a default implementation for the pipeline.
Mm-hmm.
Then
Mm-hmm.
customer can um, replace, just like select broker, can
Yep.
replace a certain service.
Yep. Yep.
Meanwhile, they can add,
Mm-hmm.
insert certain service before or after service.
Oh, I like that. I
Do
like
you
that.
understand that?
I
It's just
understand.
like a field pipeline in the ASP.NET Core.
Mm-hmm.
So field have the action filter, result filter, blah blah.
Mm-hmm.
So our customer can uh, create his own filter and
Mm-hmm.
inject in before or after a certain filter.
Yep. 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 I agree
Um,
100%. Mm-hmm.
yeah,
Mm-hmm.
it's a similar thing. I think
Mm-hmm.
it's the same as your core business logic
Yep.
here.
Yep.
Um, so that's what I'm thinking. Another one is we should figure out the input or output for each service. So
Mm-hmm.
and we need a model,
A local model.
a log model.
Exactly.
So
Exactly.
it
Mm-hmm.
helps us to build a service.
Yep.
So
Yep.
so far, audit has a model,
Uh-huh.
the EDM model.
Yep.
We heavily depend on the model, but what I'm thinking, we should hide the model
Yep.
from customer perspective.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but how? But we still need a local or uh, behind the scenes, the model behind the scene to
Right.
help us to build the service and run the pipeline.
That's right. So here's what we can do.
Mm,
This aggregation service down the road will be thrown away and turned into a substrate,
mm,
right? And this substrate will manage certain rules and configuration that determines which service will take the priority in terms of executing an incoming query based on that query. This is the mindset. This is just a high level that what I'm
yes,
trying to
yes.
do. But here's the deal, Sam.
Mm,
The what we want to do, my friend, it's very likely now that I'm listening to what you're saying,
mm,
this is your experience right here. There is the order of execution configuration, right?
mm,
And I don't think the module itself, like if I'm building excuse me, if I'm building an external module and I'm putting that module out there, right? I don't think it should be my responsibility to say when my module should be executed amongst many other modules. That should be the responsibility of the person that's configuring the OData implementation on their software to say,
Mm.
okay, I'm going to add all these modules and here's my configuration. Just like how we set up .select, .order by, .filter, they will just go and say, honor this module and then this module and this module in that particular order, right? Not order of execution though. That like it's the order of taken the priority of executing the same query type. So you're getting a select. Let's say you have Sam's select module, okay? And there
Mm.
is Hassan's select module. So there's two of them, and both of them are doing some magic, right? Now, the person who's using this system can configure the substrate or the lakehouse to go and say, I want the execution order to honor the execution of Sam's module first before the second one. And this will be an advanced configuration that they don't have to do unless they really need to. Like I want this to be plug and play. Anybody could just pick it up and run with it. Does that make sense?
Yes.
So here's the next step. I'm gonna create an issue for us because we're gonna pair on a quick issue in here. What you and I need to do, my friend, the area of focus really is this guy right here. We need to start building that select service. And if we start building it, it will bring up the conversation about the localized models, the brokers, and the integrations. We're going to start from here, and eventually it's going to leak into this guy and this guy as we're building it, right? Because we're going to need to think about where does that fit in and how does it plug and play into these different integration models, right? So here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to go back here into
Maybe we
this
can pick up the field service first.
the filter. Okay, well, let's do the filter. I'm okay with that. I'm okay with
Mm.
that. Let's go with the filter service first. I trust your opinion in these things because you are awesome. Let's go to GitHub. Let's go to OData Neo right here. And I'm gonna create an issue. And this new issue, this is how we're gonna, do our work. It's gonna be a foundation service. So it's foundations. That's the type, right? And then I'm gonna go say, the filter service implementation. Okay, and in
Mm.
here, just higher level a design here or description. I'm gonna say as as an engineer, when I need to run filtering on my data through a query, I should be able then I should then given as an engineer, I should be able to leverage a capability in OData Neo to filter data from the server, from the provider, right? I don't know why I put it all in uppercase, but that's that. Let me see if I can actually make it. Oh, let's see. Maybe I can do it like this, Sam. Does it make it look better if I did this? Yeah, I like that. It's cool. There you go. Given when then. So this is the high level. I'm an engineer. I need to run the filtering capability on a data through a query, and I want to be able to leverage the capability of filtering that data. I will add a little bit more in here just for the time of this video. This is the high level goal. This is the purpose, the idea and the purpose. Okay. So I'm going to submit this issue. And then what I'm going to do is that I'm going to add more detail under this issue. And then what you and I can do is that we can sync up on Monday if you are available just for an hour, and we will kind of sit down and start writing the code for this foundation service. Does that sound like a good deal to you? Deal or no
Yes,
deal?
it sounds great. It's my first time to write code together with you, so I try
Awesome.
to learn from you.
I can't wait to learn from you, brother. See, the thing is, all I know is just standardization, right? But you know the core business, and I want the world to see, everyone could bring their own weight, carry their own weight when it comes to implementing a certain technology. I will do the whole, you will do great work, and I'll go tell the world, look at the great work Sam is doing. Okay, and we will work together and build that system together. It's going to be test driven and it's going to be great. And I'm super excited to work with you, my friend. Does that sound like a
Me too.
deal?
Yeah.
All right, let's connect Monday, and I will put the I'll put the pairing session link so anybody could just join in, walk in. This is how I do it in the office, by the way. I just pair with people, and anybody could just join us into the channel, and they could just ask a question or do whatever they want. I'm just doing it on a more open source global scale, so the conversation is always open, and people always come before the product and the technology and everything else in between. Sam, as usual, it's always a pleasure meeting with you, sir, and I look forward to pairing with you and showing the world what pair programming looks like, on Monday. You take care and have a wonderful weekend. And
Me too.
for the people watching us, if you have any questions, comments, or concerns, please feel free to drop a comment in the comment section. I'm going to put the Discord channel link in here. And please join us, build this great product with us, and see how much I promise you, whatever you know, however long you've been in the industry, you're going to learn something new from this. And, I'll see you in another video. Take care, Sam. Thank you so
Take
much.
care.